Hi, my name is Dadisi. I'm a bass drummer. There's no easy way to say this, but bass drummers don't have chops. You might think I'm crazy to make such a bold claim, but I'm going to ask you two questions and I want you to answer them honestly. Are you a bass drummer? Do you have chops? It's very unlikely that you'd answer yes to both questions. People that tend to define themselves as bass drummers are people that typically don't play any other drum. And since we only play a few notes every bar, we never have a chance to get any chops. And a lot of bass drummers don't see the issue here. Why get chops if I don't need them? While that may be a compelling excuse, by the end of this video, we'll learn exactly why bass drummers need chops and the quickest way to get chops. The first thing we need to know is what exactly are chops. Chops are a measure of two things. First is strength. Strength in drumming is determined by how quickly you can move the stick. It takes real physical effort from the muscles in your body to move the stick, especially a bass drum mallet. If our muscles are strong, they can move the mallet quickly and we will have chops. But what's the point of strength if we don't know how to apply it? The second element to chops is efficiency. Efficiency is a ratio of work done versus energy expended. Imagine we're both playing rolls. If your rolls sound the same as mine, but use half of the energy, then you're twice as efficient. This would effectively mean that you could play rolls twice as long as I can, so you'd have more chops. Strength and efficiency are the core elements to chops. These two parts are very closely intertwined. Strength without efficiency will be short-lived and difficult to reproduce. Efficiency without strength won't produce the volume we need. If you have one without the other, your chops will be unreliable and underdeveloped. When you consider why bass drummers don't innately have chops like the rest of the drumline, you'll find that it's because we barely play. While we're splitting threes and fours, the upper battery is working on triplet rolls and legatos. They are focused on chops, while we are more focused on balance and rhythmic accuracy. And when bass drummers have chops, they've typically invested all their effort into strength. Because why would we need efficiency when we don't have to play a lot? What bass drummers need to realize is that playing on such a soft head requires a lot of chops, no matter what you're playing or how much you're playing. So if you're working on fours but you can't get the last note to speak, it's because you don't have enough chops. If you're playing a single split but the end always fades out, it's because you don't have the chops. If your director is always telling you to play louder, yeah, it might be the chops. And the answer is not to just get stronger and force the rhythms. A lot of what I see is bass drummers with inefficient motions because their mechanics aren't working for them. Whether you're in high school or in the Blue Devils, a lot of the typical issues stem from not having chops. Another scenario to consider is if you want to audition for an independent group. Every bass drummer that shows up is going to have some capacity to split, because that's what we do. But when you come into my audition and I ask you to play this or this, a lot of bass drummers are blindsided. Independent ensembles tend to really value chops in bass drummers because it shows that you can demonstrate great sound quality consistently in a variety of contexts. Chops can be the difference between getting a contract or getting cut. So, how do we get chops? Well, the bare bones of chops is very simple, and we're going to use that to our advantage to get chops really quickly. We need to deconstruct rudimental drumming and look at what things our hands are actually required to do. When we look at drumming like this, we'll find that it's made of stroke types. Stroke types are the stick movements that drumming consists of. These are things like legato strokes, taps, upstrokes, downstrokes, double strokes, triple strokes, decays, and diddles. To build chops, we need to build strength and efficiency in each fundamental stroke type. The way to build strength is by taking our muscles to failure. Strength is essentially built by working a muscle until it's sore, giving it time and nutrients to recover and grow stronger, and then doing it again. In our case, this means we need to drum until we can't drum anymore. I never said it'd be easy, but it is the quickest option. The way we'll do this is by choosing a stroke type that we want to build chops in and playing it for 5, 10, 20, or 30 minutes without stopping. Turn on your favorite Netflix show or Twitch stream, get the metronome going, and drum. When you feel the burn, you're just getting started. The second part to this plan is building efficiency. That means we want to achieve the stroke type at the correct volume and speed with as little energy as possible. To do this, we need to take a look at our technique. The stick should move from point A, the drum head, to point B, the desired stick height, without any extraneous motion or extra steps. Don't use muscles that you don't need. If your upper arm and shoulders are getting sore, it's a sign that you're using energy in the wrong places. All of the muscles we need are in our forearms and hands. If you're getting sore outside of these muscles, then you're probably being inefficient. Have a clear vision for your technique and commit to it even as your muscles get sore and tired. Now that we've established how to approach these two elements of chops in our personal practice, let's make a real practical plan that we can implement. Let's say we practice 3 days a week for about an hour each day. We'll use the first 30 minutes to work on our show music or warm-up packet, any splits that we need to work on, and the last 30 minutes will be for some chop building. If building chops is new for you, just do 5 minutes of drumming and a 5-minute rest 3 times. Each time we'll work on a different stroke type. The first cycle we'll play accent tap, the second cycle we'll play triple strokes, and the third we'll play diddles. You may need to calibrate the tempo a little bit if this is your first time. We want something that is challenging but not impossible. During the rest time, we'll drink some water and stretch out our wrists and hands. If you're a little more advanced, you could do 2 cycles of 10 minutes drumming and a 5-minute rest. And if you really got that dog in you, just drum for the whole 30 minutes. This is a great plan so far, but there's a few tricks I've picked up over the years to make this even more effective. The first and most important advice I can give is to keep a log of your practice sessions. All you need is the Notes app on your phone. Just make a note of the date, what you practiced, what tempos you achieved, how long you practiced, and anything you may want to remember for your next session. The reason you need to do this, especially for building chops, is because the tempo, volume, and duration that you can execute a stroke type or basic exercise is empirical data we can use to track the progress of our chops. You'll be able to see your progress over time by watching the tempos and duration increase. With a practice log, we can set realistic goals for our improvement based on our past performance. This is a great way to set achievable expectations and stay motivated. Another thing I like to do when I chop out is to play double stops. Instead of alternating between your left and right hand when you chop out, take whatever stroke type you're working on and play both hands together. For instance, if I'm working on diddles, instead of playing this, I would play this. This even works for a lot of basic exercises because they tend to be symmetrical. When I had to learn this exercise from earlier in the video, I was able to clean it quickly by taking the right hand part and playing it as double stops. Playing double stops will give you the opportunity to compare and contrast the way your hands move, and you'll be able to make more informed decisions about what technical changes your hands need to make so they move in an identical and efficient manner. My third tip is to chop out on your actual bass drum. You could do this on a stand or with a carrier, but I like to set my bass drum flat on the ground and play it like a snare drum. This is the best surface to chop out on because you can get acquainted with the feel of your drum and your mallets. My last tip is to stretch. Do not underestimate the benefits of stretching out your hands before, during, and after practicing. It's scientifically proven that flexibility is directly linked to strength. I've seen plenty of drummers that don't even have enough wrist flexibility to get a good upstroke. So no matter how much they chop out, They can't move efficiently unless their wrists become more flexible. This is the most efficient way to gain chops that I know of, especially for bass drummers because we never drum in long durations. This is the way that I would practice when I was deep in auditions and marching, and it worked well for me. If you start building chops, you'll be better at the music you have now and more prepared for challenging music in the future. This was probably the most thorough video I've made so far. There's a ton of information in this one. And as always, when you share a bunch of opinions on the internet, there's some dialogue to be had about different approaches and what might have worked well for you. So don't be afraid to leave a comment and share your thoughts and opinions. I read every one of them and I'm always open to discussion. If you enjoyed this video, you can support me by leaving a like, subscribing to my channel, and checking out my other videos, as well as following me on Instagram to see some more content there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.